Hey everyone, Vernita here. Welcome back to another video. If you're ever wondering why you need a life coach, what is the point, or are you wasting time seeking one, stay tuned for this video and I will uncover some things you probably never thought about. So if you see the background shaking, for some reason the camera wanted to pick up on the green screen, but guess what? There's no green screen back there. So I'm just letting it do what it do. All right, so this video is going to be a little lengthy because I want to break some things down for you while I have your attention. So I'm going to start off talking about a little bit of why I call myself the Brilliant Solutionist. Then we're going to jump into what this formula means right here. And then I'm going to share some general stories about clients. And it's all going to tie in together about helping you making a decision about working with a life coach. In the previous video or somewhere where you saw it, I talked about life coaching, whether they're generalists or not. And we answered that question. I hope I answered it for you. I believe that I did. So the Brilliant Solutionist, I started off calling myself that way back. And if you've been watching any of my videos for a length of time, you've noticed that that moniker has changed like over and over and over again. I was trying to find myself or to be able to communicate what I wanted to call myself that would make sense to other people. But it really came from what people said. And again, this is why I do my own inner work too with my own coaches. When I was in the process of writing my third book, it's not released yet. I put it down to the side, but it's coming back around. In the title, I used the word brilliant. And I was in a group with some people getting their thoughts and their feedback. And several people said that they would not pick up my book because of the word brilliant, because they didn't see themselves as brilliant. That was a shocker to me because I'm looking at these women and knowing their backgrounds, I was like, how can you not think of yourself as brilliant? So they were saying that, it has this air to it, like, like a know-it-all or a show off or something like that. And I was like, I didn't see it that way at all, but I appreciate the feedback. So I was like, I'm not going to use the title. I don't want to turn people off. But then, with my own coaching and, remembering God gave me that title. So why wouldn't I use it? And he brought me back to the scripture. In the beginning, God said, let there be light in Genesis. And so when I was doing my previous research about the word brilliant, light was, brilliance is equal to thinking about light, ideas. I guess the most common tie to the word brilliant is with the diamond, and the brilliance of the diamond is on a scale depending on how brightly it shines, how clear it is, cut, clarity, color, and it's another one. I think it's 4 C's, but carat. But all of those things, think about illumination and things like that. So I was like, well, all of us are born with brilliance, because when God said in the beginning, let there be light, I believe he was talking about us as well. That was a command for us to let our light shine because we were created in his image. So we have something to shine. And so when I started honing in on that, I was like, yes, I'm going to stick with it. I don't care what people think, because if they're turned off by it, then they're not my people. Or they're turned off by it, but they still want to hear more. That means that they want to tap into their inner brilliance. And so they may be like, but I want to learn more. Those are my people too. But if you're just completely turned off by it, then I'm still going to use it. Now, solutionist, and I gave this definition. This is why I'm coming to it, because I did a video on like a vidcast, so a video podcast with someone, and her name is Dr. Tracy Timberlake. I have a series of videos talking about my doctoral experience over on her YouTube channel. So go watch her and some other women who've gone through the process. So I broke this down and I explained it to her, and I was like, I don't think I actually said that on any of my other videos. So we got the brilliant part. Now the solutionist. If you don't know, my background is in mathematics. It is in STEM education, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and leadership. And all of those components, you have to understand formulas, systems, and frameworks. Now I won't go through my whole background. I think I got a bunch of videos talking about that. But I see things. That's how I see things. That's how I was born to see things that way. I was like that ever since I was little. My mother and grandparents used to tell me that. And then I had teachers and people tell me that. And then I was, trained to think that way, or enhanced how I always saw the world. Now transitioning that into the coaching space, I was like, oh, I've been doing this all the time, looking at a problem, coming up with a solution, and looking at it in a way with the best positive outcome. So, for example, when I was working with like principals or other administrators in a school setting, even while I was a teacher, they would always see like the issues in the mathematics department, and I will see the positive side on how we could reach. First of all, can we get a bigger vision? And I didn't know this at the time, but can we get a bigger vision? Can we set our scores or our targets a little higher? And then let's work to reach those instead of setting low targets and figuring out how not to get that, right? So it was like I always thought bigger and brighter and then putting a system in place. So now I brought that over to life coaching, because instead of drawing out the best in children through mathematics or through leadership or anything like that, now I'm bringing out the best or uncovering what's already inside of like career professionals, entrepreneurs, people in leadership, so that they can think beyond their positions, titles, and degrees. And I do that through systems, creating structures and frameworks, as you will see here. So I'll break this down. So before I get into that, in my mind, to help me own the fact of why God was placing me in this place, I had to do some more research, and I came across what Mind Valley, I think Vishen Lakhiani talked about the three categories of life, and then they broke down 12 areas of life. Now, before I knew about that, I had been talking about the 5 areas of life, the 9 environments of life. I got that from some other coaches and did my own research and looked into it. My book, Embracing Grit for Greatness, we talk about the Power Pentagon, which is the 5 areas of life: career, finance, career and business, finances, health and wellness, spirituality, and relationships or networking. And then I got into the 9 environments of life. And then I was like, well, and then I talked about that for a little bit. And then I came across the 12 areas of life. And then doing my own research, I was like, oh, it's like 15 of them. And the reason why I'm telling you that is because, and all of my examples are related to school. When you were going to school, you had multiple subjects, and maybe you weren't great in one subject area or two, but you really shined in another subject area, but you needed all of those components to go to the next level. Well, that's how I look at life. And when I started looking at life from that perspective, instead of just, well, tell me what you want to talk about today, I was like, that's what therapists and counselors do. I needed to show people that with life coaching, you can get tangible results other than, oh, I feel so much better, I'm more freer, I can think more clearly. That's great. Now what are you going to do with that new breakthrough? You know, and I believe that when people work with life coaches, they do get that initial like, oh, this is great, this is motivational, this is inspirational. There is some transformation there, and I've gone through retreats and things like that, so I know what a transformation feels like. But then it's like, what do you do after you come off that high? That's where the real work comes in. So I'm going to tell you what this formula is. I'm going to tell you the 3 categories of life, and then the 15 areas that I placed in those categories. And if you see me looking off to the side, because I am going based off of my top inner circle offer, and which is a whole year experience with me, that's what I'm looking at if I look off to the side. So, because I'm really reading what I do and give to my clients. And then I'll briefly go over, it's about 20 people I want to share something with. I'm not going to go into their full story, but I am going to give you like snippets so you can understand tangible results. All right. This formula is life coaching plus the inner work equals outer results. Now, this is a variable. It's an exponent, meaning it's exponential growth. But the reason why I left it as a variable and I just didn't put squared is because this could be 2x, 5x, 10x, 100x. So it really depends on your exponential growth. And that can be whatever you set your mind to, but at least the minimum it could be is a 2x result. Like it could be twice as better. My goal is to aim for clients to 10x where they are. And then and that compounds over time. So we can go all the way, 100x, however big you want it to go. So life coaching together with the inner work equals outer the outer results to whatever level of where you implement. That's the thing. I want you to understand that coaches do not have the answers. Like we don't give you the answers. We help you uncover your answers. Now, I do call myself a strategic life coach. So once we work through what we need to work through and uncover what we need to uncover, and you get clear on your next steps and where you want to focus on, then we can start putting some things in place for you to actually do the work and get the results. And there are some things I can suggest to you or lead you, or if it's in my actual wheelhouse, I can tell you what to do. A lot of times people run to just like the coaches who are really consultants and say, well, if you give me this framework, I will follow it. And while for a lot of people that work, if it has not worked for you, that's because you're missing one of these components. Either you're missing someone who can look at the overall areas of your life, and I'll talk about those in a minute, and you need someone to help you with the inner work. You can only take yourself so far. So if you're not getting the results, then you're missing something, right? And if you're with, like, I'll use business because a lot of people jump to business coaching because it's like, I want the money, so I must need to have a business. I did that too. So I'm talking about me, and this is why I can talk from experience. The business coach will tell you exactly what you need to do to grow your business, especially if they're a good one. You've seen the results, you've done your due diligence, and okay. But then you're like, well, why am I not getting the results? Because they told me what to do. If that business coach doesn't understand parts of mindset work and what you're thinking to help you get unstuck or clear out some of the things to why you can't follow simple directions, then you might need to back it up a little bit. Not all business coaches do that. There are some who do, and you might want to look into that. Here's a better example. Thinking about a personal trainer versus a health and wellness coach. A personal trainer will come in, tell you what to do, what workout to do. If you want to focus on your body to look a certain way, they can tell you exactly what to do. And in most cases, they can tell you what to eat, or you partner with a nutritionist. I believe a health and wellness coach can do those things and figure out why you keep eating ice cream when you said you wanted to join this fitness competition. There's something, because you know better, you know not to eat the ice cream. The trainer gave you the program of what to follow, but it's something that's keeping you held hostage by that ice cream. And that's what I believe a good health and wellness coach does. Now, backing up to a life coach, we will look at multiple areas of your life. And let me erase this. So do you get the formula? Life coaching plus the inner work equals, or should have been S, equals the outer result to whatever your exponential growth could be. The minimum is 2x, and then I like 10x, but you can go to whatever x because that's what a variable is. I said there are 3 categories, and I learned that from Mind Valley. 3 categories, and then 15 areas of life. Can you see that? Okay. Stay bored. Be a good board. So the 3 categories of life, and I've changed these up so it can make sense to me, and so it makes sense to my clients. So the areas are life experiences. The next one is life progression. And the last one is life contribution. Life experiences, life progression, and life contribution. When you think about your life like this, instead of, and this is what I talk about in my book, Embracing Grit for Greatness, becoming professionally powerful through personal empowerment. When you look at your life beyond my personal and professional life, we got professional life pretty much on lock. We know what it takes to get to whatever level, whatever degree, whatever certification, title, position. We know the framework and the path to do that. When it comes to our personal life, it's like, well, my personal life, and then it's like, what does that even look like? What does that even mean? Right. And then, so that's why I started with the 5 categories of life. But then I was like, it has to be more than that. I think the 5, I call it Power Pentagon in my book. That's a good foundation. Health and wellness, career and business, finances, spirituality, and relationships. I think that's a good solid way. But then it's like when you want to advance and you're trying to 10x, 50x, whatever x your life, it requires you to look at your life like you are a business or like you are a school. Let's break down, let's go up higher so we can look at the area so we can build that solid foundation and see where we want to start growing and building. If you only look at my personal side, then that keeps you stuck or limited, and you're not fully understanding or realizing what you're capable of. You don't really understand the brilliance that you have inside of you. So when you think about life coaching, and like I said, how to make it make sense to me so I can share it to my clients so they can understand tangible results, because that's different. Like I said, with fitness, it's your body changing. With business, am I getting more employees? Am I making more money? With finances, am I understanding my taxes, my stocks and bonds and saving, all of that? With relationships, are we communicating better? Any other type of like niche coach, you can pinpoint the results. But when it comes to life coaching, you're like, eh. All right, so these categories, and they may be different from what you go Google, because like I said, I had to make it make sense to me. So it started off with 12 areas, but then I took myself on a different type of process, and I'm going to take my clients through this because I had to do it myself first. And then that's where I uncovered more areas to get more specific based on some things that I had gone through and based on what some previous clients had gone through. So in life experiences, I have emotions and well-being, health and fitness, physical and digital space, adventure and creativity, spirituality, and inner harmony. Okay. And then in the area of life progression, I have character and identity, value and purpose, productivity and habits, social life and relationships, and then parenting slash mentorship. Because everyone, they're either not parents, they don't want to be parents, or their children are grown, but they still have like duty and responsibilities and those same qualities for other people. So I see that more as mentoring. And then in life contribution, you have community impact and influence, career and business, education and skills, money and finances, and then spouse slash family. So you may have a spouse, or you may have a partner, or you may not be in a relationship, but you still have a family. You still need to look at how you want your family to make a contribution. So going back to this formula, when you break this down, life coaching times the inner work and all of this, and then you expand what, oh, you know what? I probably should have did this. I'm having these revelations. But when you expand the inner work with the life coaching, this is how you can 10x your results. So I just gave you 15 areas in these categories. So when you look at your life, and when you think about life coaching now, and it's more than just let me get some self-help, let me just work on myself. What are you working on? What are the goals that you want? And then are your goals hitting these different areas? Your goals can't just be about money. They can't just be about weight. They can't just be about up-leveling your career. I believe they should at least fall into these 3 categories. And then within those categories, break them up even more. And then that's how you start having a more fulfilled life. Now you're doing what the Bible says, and let your light shine, even though it doesn't talk about you specifically. But when God created the world in 6 days, he did in multiple categories, in multiple sections. He didn't just say in one day, boom, here go the world. He could have, but now that I'm understanding, and thanks to Myron Golden, I started listening to him and really looking at it from a different lens, looking at the Bible from a different lens. It's like, wait a minute. If God took the time to tell us specifically how he created the world, He did it in 6 days. And we know like 6 days to him is either a second or it could be 1,000 years, whatever. But he took the time to section out what he did. And in those days, he still broke those down even further. So why wouldn't we take our lives like, whoa, this is the whole life that I'm given. Let me go ahead and break up my life into different areas or focus on different things. So let's say like you want to work with a year, because this is the program I'm talking about. Let's say you have a year, and then let's break that up into, well, I got three, so we'll do three sections. Within those sections, it was like 4 months. Yeah, 4 months. And then let's say we only focus on the life experiences. And life experiences within those 4 months, we start talking about either you want to focus on your emotions and well-being, your health and fitness, your physical and digital space, your adventure and creativity, your spirituality, and inner harmony. Let's say we spent those 4 months clearing out some things, unblocking and uncovering some things, laser focus on that, giving you some strategies and frameworks to help you up-level those areas. You feel good about it. You keep doing the work. You're seeing the results in those areas that you want. Now let's go to the next category. Now, here's the thing about life, and where I think some people get tripped up on. Let's say you did decide to focus on life experiences, but something came up and now we're in another category about life progressions, because you may have wanted to focus on your physical and digital space. Like, I want to clean up all of my technology because that is a thing. And then I want to get my house in order or my office in order. But then you realize as you're doing that, something about your character and identity starts to come up, because when you start doing this work, things start coming up where you didn't even pay attention to. So you're like, as a coach, and I was like, well, why do you feel the need to have these documents all on your desktop? Let's just say that. And then you could think, oh, I just delete them. And then it's like, well, why haven't you deleted them yet? And then it could be something about, I don't know, maybe when you were working at the entry job, you lost a file or something, and now you've been afraid to do that ever since because you got punished for that. So that's part of your character, something that you've identified with, and you wouldn't have even known that had you not started the process. And the reason why I didn't go all the way back to childhood is because a lot of us really don't. It's really not the childhood experiences that keep us stuck. It's some things that have happened, like just like young adult life, or when we fully became adults that, probably just 5 years ago that things started happening to us. And then, yes, there are some things in the childhood, maybe, but for those cases, in my opinion, if you really need to work on those childhood experiences, I have no problem uncovering them. But if something that you really can't move forward from, then you may need to go see a therapist or a counselor. All life coaches may not tell you that, but that's where people get hung up on. I'm not going back. And education, that's like ACEs. It's trauma. That's not what I do. All right. So I'm not dismissing it, but it's like I may need to refer you somewhere to get some deeper dive help in that area. All right. So the reason why I brought that up is like, even with you being focused, something else may come up. Now, what a great coach does is like, okay, we're going to acknowledge that, but we don't want to get off track. So we're going to acknowledge that to help us to make sure that we get the results in this area. And then that will give us the guide to see where we need to go next. All right. So you don't need to deep dive. And I think that's what a lot of people get overwhelmed with when it comes to the area of life coaching, because they think they have to tackle their entire life all at once or in all of one session. So let me transition to the clients that I've worked with, so I can show you that from either one conversation or from an extended period of time. So whether one conversation, one day, or multiple sessions, these are the results that these clients have gotten. Some of them are needle point moves, and that was enough for them. And then some of them, they've made drastic changes. And this is something I had to learn as well as a coach, a life coach. Results are results. Everyone doesn't have I made $1 million in a day, or I released all the weight in 5 days. It's like, what? A result could be something as small as, like I said, the reason why I'm hoarding all of these documents on my desktop is because I never let go of what my previous boss or whatever said to me when I made that mistake. And now that you've acknowledged that, you let it go, and now you're like, oh, well, I feel a little different. It's like some gray matter or brain space, released in my mind, and now I can move that clutter and get moving. That's a huge shift for some people. All right, so we're gonna get into the clients. So the first person, I'm not gonna say actual names. I'm not hiding them. If you go look on any of part of my website where I have offers, you will see that there are testimonials. Maybe not all, maybe like 2 or 3 people are not on those testimonials, but most of them are in some capacity. All right, so I'm not gonna say their names, because here's the thing. I don't want you to shut off something because a person's name triggered you. Yes, that has happened where I gave an example and this person has had some kind of interaction with a person named that, and they dismissed everything I said because they got hung up on the name. If you don't believe me, when I would teach mathematics, I'm telling you, this is the power of words. When I would teach mathematics and it came time for a student to read a word problem, if there was some word in the problem that the student did not understand, it threw them off completely, even if the word had nothing to do with the actual equation or formula. But they were so hung up on what this word means that either time ran out, they got flustered, or they just avoided the problem because they just had to know what that word meant. Now, all students wouldn't ask the question. I will find this out later, like, why didn't you just ask me what the word meant? All right. So the first person is SJ. Now, I've worked with SJ over an extended period of time where there's one conversation, a quick message, or whatever. So SJ, working with her. Now, I'm not saying I gave on certain people, I gave specific strategies to. Some people, it was just a conversation that they needed to move to the next step. So with SJ, she left her job because there were just some things that were happening. And now I don't ever tell people to leave their jobs. There are some coaches that say, yes, jump ship and believe in yourself, burn the bridges. I don't personally do that. But if you are that type of person, you have to do what feels right for you. So I didn't tell her yes or no. I just asked her a series of questions and let her come to her own conclusion, right? So she did that. And then before we did that, she got more involved in her YouTube channel. And then she started speaking more. And then she got a focus of where she wanted to take her journey into entrepreneurship outside of her career. So we were having those conversations, all along for her to start making those steps. And she started doing photo shoots. She just really blossomed based on conversations that we shared. So tangible result, conversation, you can figure out which area she was in. She had already had a business, but then we talked about how to grow that business. Now, I don't consider myself like a business coach, but there are some things in business. And when I hear ideas to help you increase, I am going to share that. I am not the coach that hold things back. I have a multitude or a myriad of experiences, and I share that with my clients too, if it's going to benefit you. And so that's what she did. And then next we have Dr. S. Dr. S was a dean of a university. She had already transitioned. She was an assistant dean. She got a new job. But within that new job, she wanted to make sure she still had time for her family and to write novels. And she couldn't figure out how to do that. So in one conversation, I know this may sound so simple to people, but sometimes you really don't see things. And this is why you need extra support. So you may be doing the inner work, but you also need a life coach to help you with that inner work. It was a matter of looking at her schedule and figuring out what is she doing in the morning. It was like you had 3 hours in the morning that you were just up doing nothing. So focus that time. Figure out how you're going to, what does it look like to spend time with your family? If you know that you're going to work late, can you do something in the morning? And can you block out some time where you start writing in the morning instead of waiting till you get off work? I know. And she was like, oh, yeah. I'm telling you, some things that we think are simple is life-changing to other people. So Jay, already in business, but there were times when we had conversations to where she wasn't motivated to do any of the work that she was doing in her business. Again, I don't label myself as a mindset coach, but that is part of life coaching. So there were questions I had to ask her about the thoughts she was having to why she wasn't doing the work that she needed. This was really big on the contribution part, because it's like you're in your feelings and you're not helping your clients. We need to work on that. And when we did that, she started showing up more on social media and getting more clients. Then we have Dr. B. Dr. B was already doing her thing, already in business. Hers was very specific. She, again, sometimes it can be so short. She asked me a strategy question, and when I responded, it was about speaking. I gave her 4 words to say. Those 4 words that she took back about this contract, it ended up, she increased her speaking fee. She 4x'd it. So out of results, exponential growth. 4x the results that she would have gotten had she not used those 4 words that I'd given her. Because I was listening, I was like helping her understand who she was, where she was, that inner brilliance. And she had already done some coaching, but it was just something specific. And then so again, life coaching plus inner work, then we were able to 4x the amount that she got for her speaking engagement. And then we have N, career professional. She was stuck at, I don't want to say stuck. She allowed herself to stay at a certain level in her career. Now, we were in the same field. I used to like, go here, go get this, go get that. And then I had to learn, like, simmer down, let people find their own path, even if they're on the same path as you. But I did recognize, like, okay, now you don't have to go where I went, but I know this is not where you want to be. Why are you staying at this level? And that's another thing with a good life coach will tell you things that you don't want to hear. And a good life coach will have you upset with them. So she was upset with me because I called her out. But of course, it's with love, because it's like, I remember what you said you wanted. So my job is to help to remind you of that. And if I have to make it sting a little bit, I will. After some conversations, she ended up going to the next level in her career. And then she talked about wanting to buy a house, but why she never finished the process of buying a house. We had to talk about some things in her past. Now, this is where we did have to go back to childhood. We didn't work on healing the inner child or anything like that, but it was something that we had to acknowledge and recognize that she had brought into adulthood. And when we talked about that, and for her to make that correlation between why she was thinking about the way she was thinking now to what was happening in the past, she was like, oh, snap. We didn't do any additional work with that information. All I did was make her aware of those 2 scenarios. A month later, she got the position. And then a few months later after that, she bought her new home. Then we go to Kay. Kay was dealing with a lot of health issues, but then also working multiple jobs to focus on the money. All of us I don't want to speak for everyone. I totally get wanting to make sure you're financially secure, stable, rich, wealthy. You want the money, the resources, so you can do what you want to do in life. But then it's like, we had a conversation with her. She's like, I just don't know what I want to do. I'm holding on to these jobs. And it's like, well, why are you really holding on to these 2 jobs? Then we got to the reason behind the reason why she thought she was holding on to those 2 jobs. And what it boiled down to, we ultimately had to bring her back to her and her health. Forget all of the money at this point, because you're making all of this money and then you're not going to be around to enjoy it. So we worked on some things, and her end result was she let go of one of the jobs and she started focusing on her health. And then when she took time to slow down, she realized there were some things that she really had to work on and pay attention to and get some medical advice for. But because she didn't take that, had she not taken that time initially to slow down, she would have never known what was going on inside of her. So I see that as a big win. Yes, your income is limited right now, but now you can focus on what's more important. Now, we didn't continue after that, because I gave her some direction, some suggestions on where to go next. So for her to focus on a different area. But because we started, quote unquote, general, we broke down some different areas, and now she was able to say, okay, I want to focus on this. It is outside of my wheelhouse, but at least she knows the direction to go. So in case you didn't hear the result, yes, she let go of the job, but she found something more important to focus on her health, because she really needed to focus on her health. And then she just let me know not too long ago that she just went on this international trip, and she was able to do that also because she had let go of that job. So sometimes the results in life coaching are delayed. And I think if you're open to that and understanding that, then you won't be so upset about, well, I didn't get a return on my investment. Then we have Dr. K. So with Dr. K, I did a strategy session with her about a membership group that she had. And she had already grown the membership group to I thought it was a pretty good number, but then it got stuck. So after some conversations with her, asking her, what do you really want? And I know it's a simple question, but a lot of people don't know how to answer that. They know what they don't want, but they don't know what they do want. After we got some initial like question Q&A, like I was asking her some questions so I can really understand her focus. Now it's like consulting kicked in and strategy. Now I'm going to tell you what to do. I don't always do that, but if it fits, I thank God that I'm able to have that gift to be able to do that. All right. So I gave her some strategies on what to do and to turn this into a business and how you're going to bring in more income. So when I did that, that gives her the framework or the foundation to now where either she can continue to stay with me in that area or she can go to someone who specializes in the strategies to grow a membership in that way. So, I mean, can I? But that's not where I would spend my area of genius. I think that's a zone of excellence, not a zone of genius. All right. So that was a result like, oh, I have a strategy, so here's the thing, something that she can do on her own. I believe that there are some things where when a coach suggests something or you get an aha moment, you need to implement and to get into action. And then when you start getting into action, then either your next coach or whatever comes along. So I told her, don't immediately go find a coach. Do the work that you can do, what I just said, so that way you have a solid foundation. So when you do go partner with this coach or consultant, you're not starting from ground zero. All right. So then I'm getting through. Then we have G. G had some relationship issues and it was blocking her from growing her business. I know. I told you these things cross over. And she was wondering why she was so stuck not being able to purchase her second building. See, my clients are big time. She was looking for commercial property, okay? And she didn't make the connection that all of the things that were happening in her relationship was hindering her from moving forward in these deals. We had these conversations. We worked through some things on different sessions. And then within probably about a month or 6 weeks, she started moving forward on getting her building, working on the negotiations. That is a tangible result. And then we have S. S came to me. Now she's actually on the YouTube channel. S came to me just trying to figure out, well, what am I supposed to do next in life? And here's the thing with S. I was like, it's nothing that you're supposed to do next. You're supposed to do what you came here to ask me about. And I know some previous coaches she had worked with. I was like, you're supposed to do the work they told you to do. And that's one thing for me. Like sometimes you may book a strategy session thinking that, I'm just telling you up front, you may think that I'm going to tell you something else brand new. But the moment you tell me, so don't lie. The moment you tell me that you had worked with a coach and they told you to do some things, I'm going to ask you, well, did you do it? And if you say no, then I'm like, now we can get into why you haven't done it. And then I'm probably going to tell you the same thing they told you. But the difference is we get down to the why you haven't done what they told you to do. With S, that's exactly what happened. But we had to uncover the fact that she wasn't doing the work because she was still hung up on not having a certain degree in a certain area of where she wanted to start her business. But she had these real life experiences that could be a contribution to so many other women. I gave her some strategies and things, and then it was like, now go do what the other coach told you to do. But at least now you know why you're not doing the work. So then we have 5 people. Yeah. D, T, E. Those 3 people were struggling with their dissertations. And again, I don't say I'm a dissertation coach, but that's part of life. I have that area of expertise because I have a PhD, so I know the dissertation process. But because of my unique experience with the dissertation process, I have a different perspective than a lot of people to help you get through your dissertation faster than what people tell you. So with those 3, they had been working on their dissertations for a long time and the deadline was coming up. So I had to put some things in place. We had to have some conversations and some strategies so they can get finished in time. And that was their tangible results. Now, A and M, they're just now starting their dissertation process. So they came to me asking me about research questions and frameworks. So the part about life coaching where that came in, it was like, why do you want to do this work? Are you going to have time to do this work? Then helping them with their research questions to make sure that you finish on time, because the end result at this point is not so much making a life contribution. We want you to finish, and then giving them the perspective of what could happen in their doctoral program to make sure it doesn't impact their full life. So we just had some conversations. I just gave them a different perspective on how to look at their research, and then give them a lens to use as they enter into their doctoral program. We talked about a generalist. I can own that, but it does help people get exponential growth. Then we have Dr. K. Dr. K was like one of my first clients, like when my fee was like down there. We looked at her whole life. Like we went through a whole thing with her. And that's where I got this idea of, breaking up life into different areas. Now I didn't have 15. I think with her, it was only 5 at the time that I knew. We went through this whole process. So what happened? She changed cities because she wanted to. And it was like, why are you staying somewhere you don't want to be? And I know it can be so simple as, well, why don't people just move? It's a lot behind that. And we got to why she wasn't moving. Then after she made the shift, she kept her professional job. Then she also started a consulting business. And then I gave her some strategies on how to start that I do know how to do. And then with all of the conversations and things that we were working through, we did get to that was progression and contribution. She started doing international work that was related to her business. Now, I'm not saying, like, here's the thing. I'm not saying that I'm like, hey, I just make your life better. But I do help you see what is possible and what you cannot see. So with Dr. K, she was in a position, and most people will say, oh, your life is good. Why do you want to change? But when she came to me, and I was like, you could be doing so much more. And I know you want to do so much more. That's why you think you feel stuck, because you're not living up to all that you can be, right? So having those conversations, setting some things in place, like we really worked on her schedule. That was part of that productivity and habits. So that led her to getting some things in place. She had to get herself together and become this person who she wanted to be. When she became that person, then those other opportunities started opening up for her. And then that's what led to the different job, different location, starting her business, doing international work, and she's still thriving from that conversation. And she's in one of the testimonial videos to where she's like, I still do the things that I worked with Dr. V on and things like that. And then so now we have Dr. D. And I'm telling you the people titles because sometimes people don't think high level professionals or career people get support. Yes, they do. And I talked about this before. A lot of times people think tutoring was for people who were always struggling, but real tutoring was for the people to make sure they didn't slip. Think about that. So Dr. D, we had an extended conversation. We had a VIP day, and I took her through the framework of one of my earlier frameworks, the framework in my book. Took her through that framework, and we realized that she wasn't embracing being a wife and a mother because of something that took place in her doctoral program, a conversation that somebody said. We didn't uncover that until hour 4 into the VIP day. We were working on some things based on what she said and things like that, but I was listening to my intuition. I was like, something else. And then I kept asking her questions. We kept going through the exercises and having conversations. And then there it is. It was, and why she was so focused on her professional side, it had nothing to do with professional growth. It was about proving something to somebody who she wasn't working with based on what they said way back when. Again, these things crossed over. She didn't understand like why. Now, don't get me wrong. She loved her husband. She loved her kids. And I think she's on kid number 2 now. It wasn't that she wasn't loving them or grateful. Her attention and focus wasn't there like it could have been. Like she would bring work home and spend all this time at work and trying to do all the things because she was trying to prove something to somebody else. When we made that connection, then her mind, you could literally see the transformation or the breakthrough, the aha moment on her face. And then we were able to talk about some other things she wants to accomplish in different areas of her life. Because it's like once you freed up that time that you were spending at work where you did not need to, now you can focus on these different areas, spending more time with your husband and being intentional with your husband and how you want to raise your children. That's a whole nother conversation there. Tangible results. So then we get to M. Now, M is a high level business woman. She's done great things. She's actually been a coach to me as well. Hers was more of a strategy thing, and she helped me unlock something I didn't know would be beneficial to other people. I know, crazy, coaching, helping coaches. Having a conversation with her. Now, she came to me for assistance about creating a curriculum for a book that she had already written. Wait, you think I can do that? Well, duh, my background. And when I was having the conversation with her, I had already shared some things that I had been doing based on the book that she had written. And I was like, oh yeah, I had did that. And so me having a conversation with her unlocked another skill set that I didn't even make the connection with based on my experiences and what I could do. It goes back to that strategy and framework. So now I know that I can help people who are already in business, who in the coaching space, who have books, help them with their curriculum, whole background. You know how many years of experience I have in that? And that's before I became an actual teacher. So I want to share those tangible results with you because it's something I can do. And to have this person who's already making millions of dollars a year have like all of this success and still need support in this area, that helped me realize that there's, stay in my zone of genius. So I shared that with you to say high level people need support too. All right. So that was a tangible result. So then Kay, we got 3 guys we want to talk about, and then we're wrapping up. So Kay, I had worked with him in some other programs, and he came to me about back end systems because he was like, well, how do you do all of this stuff? Like, you're never tired, well, which I am, but he was like, you get to do things and I see stuff happening over here, but you're over here. Like, how do you get to do that? And I was like, because I put systems in place. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out the best, fastest, shortest way to do something. So that way, when it's time to do it again, it works like clockwork. I know some people say, I do a lot of front end work. Even when I was teaching in college, I would front load the semester. Like, I would do a lot of stuff with the students. Even when I was a public school teacher, I did a lot of like work, like building routines, systems, and showing kids how I want things to be done. Like, we went through things, a checklist and a framework. This is how you do. And when I was in K-12, I spent like the first 4 weeks of school doing that. Yes, I know, but trust me, I was grateful every single time I put that work in. When I taught college, it was a lot of work those first 4 or 5 weeks of the semester, but we were on easy street for the rest of the year. So when the end of the rest of the semester came, straight chilling while all the other professors were running around crazy, I just showed up, and because we had did what we need to do. So with Kay, I brought those same experiences over here to the business side. So when Kay saw that, then we talked about his back end and what he needed to put in place. Now, he had already worked with some people and they put some things in place for him. But now I am a fan of outsourcing, but I also believe that you need to know what you're outsourcing. That's just me. Everyone may not agree with that. I just think you need to know something about every part of your business. One, in case something breaks down, there's something that you need to get done right away and you can't call on anybody, or just so you know what's going on in your business. He had no idea how the things were operating in his back system. He had no idea that the phones weren't working, email sequences weren't going out. And I showed him how to do all of that. He was about to pay somebody $9,000, go back to the company and pay them $9,000. Now, I saved him that because I'm like, at that time, the session I had wasn't that $9,000. And I didn't feel any type of way that he didn't give me $9,000 for that. My goal, like, if I'm going to help you, I'm going to help you, right? So that's what I did for him. That's a tangible result, that I saved you from making this $9,000 error. And now Could he have paid me to do his back end system? At the time, I wasn't focused on that. But now I do have things in place to where I can help people with their back end systems. It just wasn't in place at that time, but working with him gave me that idea. So a strategy session, although my strategy session was less than $9,000, I still felt good saying, hey, dude, don't do that. This is all you need to do. So it wasn't coaching. This was straight strategy. And that was the tangible results for him. Then you have T. T was someone who has a business, but not like really involved with this, like a family business. And just having conversations. Again, with the men, they're more like strategy. They don't come to me saying, oh, I feel stuck. They don't. I mean, as women, that's what we do. But the men are like, look, problem, I need a solution. So T had all this going on. And just in the conversation, I was like, dude, you need to focus. And I know you want to make more money and you're trying to look for all of these other things. I gave him 3 things based on his experiences, 3 business ideas based on what he has already experienced that will generate income immediately. He started with 1, and then I gave him the steps on all the things he needed to do for that business. And he's starting that particular business to get it up and running. A simple conversation. Now he's more chilled, relaxed. He's still in his professional job, but he's building up this business so that can work on autopilot so he can get ready to leave his job and then focus on the other 2 business adventures. So again, not that it's necessarily life coaching, but it kind of is, because I looked at his experiences and all the things that he had been doing and then focused on areas in the progression area and the contribution area. And I gave him actual strategy. And then for one of them, I gave him a system on what he needed to do. That's the same thing I did with K. I gave him a system and to help him understand his system. And then we have H, the final one. H was this high-level educator professional, like way up in the ranks. He kept getting blocked at a certain level. And then so when I talked to him, I was like, well, instead of keep trying to break through that ceiling, let's focus on, let's go out instead of always going up, because going up is not always the goal. So we might want to branch out. And then so it's like, well, have you thought about consulting, like for real? And then it was like, I mean, I do a little bit, but like, no, like consult, write, and speak. All the things like I had to do as a professor, I was like, how about you try that? And then so he did start doing those things, started getting major contracts, and he ended up starting a foundation for the reasons why he felt like he wasn't able to go to the top of this particular this level. I'll just say it, to be a superintendent. And so he started a foundation to help other men, understand how to navigate that space, and so that they won't have any issues when it's time for them to rise to the top. He also consults on that. I don't think he's doing too much writing, but he does consult and speak in that area, and conversations with me, giving him the system and the framework and showing him what was possible as well. So that's what I want to talk to you about. Again, 3 categories. If you start looking at your life, then breaking those down into those 15 areas, and then really understanding that life coaching plus inner work does give you the outer results at an exponential growth. So let me say this, and some of y'all are having life coaches and you're really going to therapy sessions. Go to the therapist if that's what you want to do. Some of y'all are just doing the inner work by yourself. You're taking these self-study courses. There's nothing wrong with that. I have self-study courses and things for you to do on your own, because I do believe that you're your first coach. Start somewhere, start tilling the ground, right? And then some of you are just getting regular results. And you're like, well, I either have a coach, but I got regular results, or I'm doing some inner work and I got some results. But you have to put them, it's beneficial for you to put them together so you can either 2x or 10x I believe it's 10x. We'll say 10x your results, but I'll say 2 to be conservative, so you can get the exponential growth of your results. All right, so I know this was a long one. Thank you so much for listening and learning with me. I would love to hear your thoughts down below. So get yourself a life coach who really understands what it means to do life. All right. Thank you so much. Remember to be well, to be empowered, to be bold, and to be brilliant. Until next time. Bye.